Hello Year 8, welcome to your second geography lesson of the week, and we are continuing with our new topic of Africa. So today's lesson, as you can see from the title, is to explore the misconceptions that exist about the continent of Africa. In today's lesson, you are going to understand what a misconception is. You're then going to understand some of the different misconceptions that people might hold about Africa, and you're then going to explore one of those misconceptions in particular, which is that all of Africa is poor. The equipment needed for this lesson is pen and paper, a whiteboard and a whiteboard pen, and you'll also need to be able to open the Word document which is on class charts, and that is called Resource Pack. This first part of the lesson then is looking at what a misconception actually is. And you can see on the screen that you have a popular misconception about Africa. It says that Africa is a country. So using that as an example on your whiteboards, can you explain what you think a misconception is? So if you had to come up with a definition for the word misconception, what would you say based on that example? You can pause the video to complete that activity. Now I'm hoping that your definition or your idea is similar to this one here. Okay, this says a misconception is a view or opinion that is incorrect because it is based on faulty thinking or understanding. So it's an idea or an opinion that is fundamentally not true, it's wrong, and that's because it's based on some other idea or thinking that is also incorrect. Using that definition to help you, can you now complete the developing, secure or mastered task? So for developing, I want you to explain why this example of Africa is a country is a misconception. For the secure task, can you then think of a synonym, which means another word that means the same thing, for the word misconception? So can you think of another word that has the same or a similar meaning to misconception? And for the master task, can you come up with some other misconceptions about Africa? So for that activity, maybe think about how African countries are portrayed in the media and how that might influence people's thinking about Africa around the world. Pause the video to complete that first task, please. So far this lesson, we've only looked at one misconception about Africa, the idea that Africa is a country. However, there are plenty of misconceptions that people around the world have about this continent. For example, no one has technology in Africa. Everywhere in Africa is a desert. Everybody lives in slums. There's no water, and all African countries are poor. These are all examples of misconceptions that lots of people elsewhere in the world might believe to be true. Now, this activity is going to get you to prove that each of those 5 statements are a misconception, to prove that they are not true. And to help you do this, you will find a Word document on class charts, which I think is called Resource Pack, and this contains information about each one of those statements. Can you use this resource pack to help you complete the following activities? For the developing task, can you explain why each statement is a misconception? So when you're explaining, we will be looking for the word because. This statement is a misconception because. For the secure activity, can you complete the developing task first, and then if you look at the resource pack, each sheet has a question on it. Can you choose 2 of these secure questions to answer in your books or on your paper? And for the mastered activity, can you also complete the developing task first and then choose one of these mastered questions to consider? So the first one says, where do you think these misconceptions come from? So in other words, how do you think people around the world end up believing that these things are true? And the second question says, what would be the impact of misconceptions on people? So for people living across Africa, what would the impact of these misconceptions be for them? Can you now pause the video, open up the resource pack and use it to complete your tasks, please? For the last part of the lesson, we are going to focus on one of the most common misconceptions about Africa, and that is the idea that all of Africa is poor. Now, considering that there are 54 different countries in Africa, it is quite impossible for them all to have the same economy, so the same amount of money and the same way of making money, and the same level of development. To illustrate this point, I'm going to show you 4 images taken across Africa. Now, 2 of these images were taken in the country of Nigeria, which is a newly emerging economy, an NEE, and 2 of these pictures were taken in the country of Sierra Leone, which is a lower income country, an LIC. You might remember that we looked at Sierra Leone when we did the lesson in the conflict topic about blood diamonds. I want you to pause the video now while you think about which 2 pictures were taken in which of these 2 countries. Now, it might surprise you to know that the pictures on the left-hand side were both taken in Nigeria, and the pictures on the right-hand side were both taken in Sierra Leone. What this shows us is that the level of development within a country can vary as much as it can between countries. So there will always be some parts of a country which are more developed than others. And this is true for all countries, not just countries that are in Africa. To help us explain why all of Africa is poor is a misconception, we are going to look at one measure of development in particular, and that is the Human Development Index, or HDI. You might remember from our Asia scheme of work that HDI is calculated by adding together data about education, life expectancy, and GNI. And this is used to create a score between 0 and 1. The closer to 1, the more developed the country is. So this choropleth map here shows us the HDI scores for all countries across Africa. You can see, if you look at the key, that the darker the colour, the higher the score. So the darker the colour, the more developed the country is. There are 2 countries, I think, on this map that are coloured in grey, which means that we don't have any data for them. Now, using this map, you are going to choose one of the following questions to answer. For the developing task, it says describe the pattern of HDI scores across Africa. So to do that, you need to remember to use GCSE. Generally, what pattern can you see using compass points? Closer in, can you give an example of a country? Specifically, can you use the data to back up your point about the country that you've just mentioned? And for your exception, you need to find something that does not fit your general trend, so something that is an anomaly. For the secure question, it says, using the map, explain why all of Africa is poor is a misconception. So in a pedal paragraph, you need to use what you can see in this map to explain why that statement is not true. So your first statement or sentence in your pedal paragraph might start with, in the map, I can see that. And then you can use that to structure the rest of your answer. For the mastered task, it says all of Africa is poor. Using the map, evaluate this statement. So for this 6-mark question, you still need to write a pedal paragraph, but you then need to add a however at the end to offer a different opinion. Can you pause the video now? You should need about 5 or 6 minutes to complete one of those tasks, please. Really well done for completing your second geography lesson of the week, Year 8. Here is what we would like you to upload to class charts. First of all, can you take a screenshot or a picture of your Task 2 explanations, which links to the second part of our learning journey for this lesson? And secondly, can you take a screenshot or a picture of your Task 3 answer? Whichever question you chose to answer, whether it was developing, secure or mastered, can you upload a picture of that too, which links to the last part of our learning journey. Really well done, and we're looking forward to marking your work.